Hey there, Hobby Warriors. Welcome to the channel. So I was cleaning off my hobby table. I had way too many projects going on at once, and I figured that this would be a great point for me to show you how I magnetize my miniatures for storage and transport, because I have a bunch of new miniatures that I just assembled, and I need to get them off of my table so that I can film more Infinity Defiance gameplay missions for you guys. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be a two-part series. In this video, part one, I'm going to show you how I actually magnetize my miniature bases, and then in part two, I'll show you how I prepare my storage cases and give you guys some options for various types of miniatures and sizes for miniatures, and also show you how I get my miniatures from my house to the game store safely using a magnetic solution. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Okay, Hobby Warriors, so we are down at the hobby counter because when you live in a loft, you don't necessarily have dedicated workshop space. So I've got my parchment paper down on the counter. That will help us when we separate the finished minis off of the surface. It won't stick. You specifically have to use parchment paper. You don't want to use wax paper or anything like that because it will bond to your glue sticks. So in order to start this, what we're going to work with first are these, some people call them slot bases, but they have that slot for the metal tab. And so what we want to do is fill one of these cavities with hot glue so that we have something that we can adhere our base magnet to. So all we're going to do is take our glue gun and squirt a nice size dollop into one half of the base, and then firmly press it down, and then just leave that to cool. And then once it's cooled, you can just pick it right up. It won't stick to the parchment paper, and you can move on to the next step. Okay, Hobby Warriors, so sometimes you'll have minis that have a hollow base, and what I like to do with these is add some weight to the base. Thanks to physics, if the base is heavier than the rest of the model, if you accidentally drop it, which can happen, the base will be rotated toward the ground, and usually the base will make contact instead of a vulnerable mini. So in order to do that, I'll go ahead and put a large dollop of glue in the center of the base, and then before I stick it on the parchment paper, I'll take a little metal disc and kind of plop that down, and then I'll go ahead and flatten the mini against my surface. And now, one, it adds that weight to the base just like we've been talking about, but then two, it's also going to give us more contact area to go ahead and later apply our magnetic sheet. Alright, Hobby Warriors, so we are back at the hobby desk, and just so you can see, we've gone ahead, pulled these off of the parchment paper, and these metal discs, again, they'll add some weight to the base in case we accidentally drop the mini, but then it also gives us a lot of surface area to apply our magnets. Now, for some of your heavier minis, like this tag from Infinity, I will go ahead and put a rare earth magnet inside the base. Personally, here in the US, I typically get my rare earth magnets from K&J Magnetics. If you're going to use these, you'll want to measure the hollow impression underneath your base so that you know how thick of a magnet you can get in there. And then the power of the magnet is measured in newtons. For a really strong bond, you want to make sure you get N52. Hold that up to the screen so you guys can see it. But yeah, a couple of these on your really big or really heavy miniatures will help give them a little bit of extra sticking power. But now what we're going to do is apply these magnetic sheets that have been cut to size to cover the entire bottom of the base. Now for odd size miniatures like Marvel Crisis Protocol, these bases are 35 millimeters, and then the bigger bases are 50 millimeters. I will go ahead and buy those pre-cut from Litco. But for your more standard sizes like 25 or 32 mil or even 40 mil, to save some money, You can buy the sheets of magnetic sheets from your hobby supply store, and then you can also buy these circular punches. They come in tons of different sizes. This is 1.5 inches, which is a little bit smaller than 40 millimeters, somewhere around like 38 point something, I believe. But you can punch your own. So if you have a lot of miniatures that you need to get done, and they have a relatively standard base size, you can get a set of these circular hole punches and then punch your own, and that will save you a little bit of money. But to go ahead and get these applied, you want to peel off the backing paper. And now they do have some adhesive on here, but I like to add some super glue to it, just because I've had that adhesive come off over time, especially if you're in a really humid environment. So a little bit of super glue will help that stick. So go ahead and get all of our backing paper off. Then all you do is take your mini and your super glue and apply some to the metal disc. And if you have a thick rim around your base, you can go ahead and put a little bit on the rim. Yeah, there we go. Get a little bit around that rim. Then take your magnet and you want to very carefully line it up. I kind of use my fingertips to act as guides around the side. Then press that down, put it on your table, and press down firmly. And then you can just set that to the side. And you want to give that a few minutes before you go ahead and put it on your metal storage. But that's how you magnetize your miniature bases. Make sure you tune in for part 2, where I'll actually show you how I prepare my storage cases. But until then, keep slaying the gray, and I'll see you in the next video.